Today, Major League Soccer is one of the fastest growing sports leagues in the world.
Here is Lennon on the ball, floating it to the back post, and in!
The idea for Major League Soccer was to create a league that would drive the energy of a soccer nation.
The sport of soccer is the sport of the new North America.
But 30 years ago, the idea that a soccer league in North America would become what it is today was pure fantasy.
The beginning years of the league was really a scrap to try to keep it going.
Many doubted that this league could succeed in the U.S.
It's a pretty common American story, the underdog surviving and then excelling.
Not everything is going to work just because you want it to work, but it did work.
For the shot, gets it back, home goal! Goal for Eric Winalda! San Jose has scored! O'Rooney turns it sharply, Donovan scored! Landon Donovan! It's time!
You understood there was something changing.
There's so many things that have impacted the growth of the league.
It's Beckham! It's a beauty!
We're innovators, and so we've had to fight our way in for exposure.
MLS has done some crazy shit to get to where it is today.
First shot of the shootout. Bagway flying out. Chip it, bouncing it, and it goes in.
And it's amazing to be a part of.
Over the years, visionaries had tried to tame soccer's last frontier time and again. It would take the grandest of gestures to make it take root.
FIFA looked at the U.S., saw the world's largest commercial market, and thought, what can we do to catalyze the launch of a professional soccer league? They decided that if they brought the World Cup to the United States, that would help launch a league.
The '94 World Cup would be the most successful in history, introducing America not just to the game, but to its first bona fide stars, who pioneered MLS.
Truth be told, there was more money to be made someplace else.
Was it a gamble? Yes, of course it was a gamble for everyone.
But we were willing to be the guys who were digging the trenches to make sure there was a solid foundation.
The feeling was that this was really going to be a sport that was commercially driven, and you saw names and you saw uniforms that reflected that.
It was sort of a wild, wild west, and like, why not? Why can't we try it? Why can't we be the Burn? Why can't we be Mutiny? Why can't we change the way the world thinks about soccer?
And when they put together the franchise, they planted certain players that fit those markets. And we got, Marco Echeverri, for example, DC United. Valderrama went to Tampa.
If those guys weren't in MLS, it wouldn't have felt like it was real. It wouldn't have been Major League.
But also remember the beginning that they felt that they need to Americanize some of the rules. We had the shootouts, we had the clock coming down, and then when it got to 0, stopped.
We basically did anything we could to promote the sport, and we said yes pretty much to everything.
There were times where we were standing off Federal Boulevard in a Rapids jersey and flags waving at people, letting them know who we were, because people didn't know who we were.
They wouldn't take me on Conan O'Brien unless I was willing to play soccer on stage with a bunch of pit bulls. I was thinking to myself, well, I'm a World Cup player, but the only way I can get on Conan O'Brien is to play soccer with pit bulls. Well, I'll do that.
At that point in time, you're not talking something that's tangible that you can see. I call it selling smoke. Okay? You don't have fire yet, but you're selling smoke.
This is 1996, a dramatically different, totally different era in American soccer. And starting tonight, the MLS is going to prove just how dramatic a difference it's going to be.
There are very few times where you feel the chill go up your spine. This is perhaps the biggest day in the history of U.S. soccer. And we are underway. Major League Soccer has begun. We're still looking for...
I remember before we started the game, the press always being worried about soccer as a 0-0 game.
So the first shot on goal goes over the goal.
And as the game ticked on, there was this concern. This game was going to end up at 0-0, and we were going to prove all of the critics right.
Well, that's the Guatemalan with the shot that just narrowly misses. Echeverry with the shot over the bar. They tried to lull San Jose to sleep, and they did.
What I'll position as my first endeavor to save the league, I allowed Eric Winalda, actually Eric went through me and then scored a fantastic goal.
Pass lead. Winalda on the left foot, keeping it on the right now, looking for the shot, gets it far post, goal! Goal for Eric Winalda! San Jose has scored an amazing goal with the right foot into the side goal. And Spartan Stadium erupts.
Eric Winalda's brilliant game-winning effort was the first highlight in a season of moments ripped from a dream. Moments like a rocking Rose Bowl debut for the LA Galaxy.
Takes the centering and the setup in front, goal! Giovanni Savarese.
The high-profile All-Star game with an attendance of nearly 80,000.
He beat Campos. Beautiful pass from Valderrama, and Ramos puts the East up.
And a thrilling final, which refused to be washed out by the worst nor'easter in New England in a generation.
Spin towards the box, and the 6. It's headed home.
Even the doubters and naysayers had to agree. MLS was off and running.
DC United stands alone as champions of Major League Soccer.
But North American soccer had been here before. The ghost of past leagues hovered over MLS.
Our first season was a one-off because everyone was out there sampling. The real world begins at year 3.
And that will do it. A new champion from Major League Soccer. The expansion fire dethroned the champion. The fire rules supreme.
Despite year 3 featuring incredible storylines and action, casual fans had moved on. MLS was in trouble.
After a very strong launch in 96, 97, the league started to fade, and there was a lot of concern about whether the league would go forward.
You know, we needed to put it on a trajectory for growth and make some changes.
One of the most notable changes was at the top, as the league looked for a new commissioner to succeed Doug Logan. Whoever took his place would inherit a league that was not quite sure what it was, let alone what it could be.
Perhaps the biggest personnel move came off the field as the league named former NFL executive Don Garber as their new commissioner.
Thank you very much, Stu, and I had been a young guy working in the National Football League for over a decade and managed a department called NFL International that was reporting into Robert Kraft, along with Phil Anschutz and Lamar Hunt, founders of Major League Soccer.
He came from the NFL, so there was a question as to, does he know anything about this game? Does he know what we've been through?
The new commissioner was immediately confronted with an existential crisis. With the league in peril, leadership turned to Garber to see how MLS could avoid the same fate that befell its predecessors.
I will say that Don Garber, he makes sure he understands different sides of a problem before he makes a decision.
We had nothing to lose. You might as well go big or go home. Let's go all in. Let's build stadiums. Let's create a commercial company that could show the world that soccer is a valuable intellectual property. We needed to figure out how to attract world-class players. All of us kind of aligned around this vision.
Part of the vision to make MLS grow was to align the league's rules with the world's game, meaning the removal of the countdown clock. Ties would now be permitted, and the end of the divisive shootout.
Echeverry, first shot of the shootout. Chipping, goal.
For me personally, it was absolutely devastating. I mean, you are talking to the shootout king.
Nevada, Lagerway backs in and saves it.
Literally the best record ever for shootouts. This guy right here.
He needs to score to keep it going, and the stop by Garth Lagerway. The Wiz win it in a shootout.
So to take it away, he took away my superpower. But we had to become authentic.
I always felt that the more traditional that we can be and more like the rest of the world, the more respected we can be.
Going big didn't come without sacrifice, and the decision was made to contract the league.
The team I was playing on, San Jose, in that playoff, there's a question of whether the team that lost was going to continue on.
strike it if he likes. He looks right out on top. Donovan just missed it! Right in front of Landon Donovan. He can strike it from anywhere. Here he is, looking for an opening, and he hits it wide right.
You didn't have players buying houses anywhere because it was just like, is this league going to be around in a couple of years?
In the box, driving it out front. Conrad. Goal! Golden goal! And the Earthquakes are going to the MLS Cup.
We beat Miami to go on to the final, and Miami folded after that.
At the end of 2001, two teams were dissolved, the Tampa Bay Mutiny and the Miami Fusion.
And my immediate thought was, man, those were some great jerseys. Like, why did it have to be those guys?
It was explained in a way that downsizing was going to allow the league eventually to grow, but I don't think any of us believed it. I think we all felt that the downsizing was scary.
It was an opportunity to question, do you stay or do you go? And all of us decided to stay.
Though the contraction and rule changes grabbed the headlines, leadership hatched a less newsworthy but more visionary strategic plan to grow the game on all fronts.
One of the things that came out of that meeting shortly thereafter was the creation of Soccer United marketing.
The commercial side of it was so crucial. To come up with Soccer United marketing that tried to build a commercial market around the sport, not just around Major League Soccer.
And so we said, if we form this company and we go and get the World Cup rights, we can raise the sponsorship value and the media value for everybody.
SUM's creation happened in advance of a massive opportunity, the 2002 World Cup, in which the United States featured a roster loaded with MLS talent.
And you know, as all good marketing people would do, you had to put a brand around it. That brand was the MLS Strike Force.
Landon Donovan, San Jose Earthquakes. Brian McBride, Columbus Crew.
We saw the U.S. go through to the quarterfinals in the World Cup, primarily with MLS players.
Chicago Fire.
We surprised a lot of people in that World Cup, and that surprise came back to a little bit of a enthusiastic injection to soccer in MLS.
On the headwind of the 2002 World Cup success, MLS launched its boldest initiative yet, the construction of soccer-specific stadiums. At the time, the only purpose-built stadium in the league was in Columbus, which stood as the gold standard.
My father had a belief that without soccer-specific stadiums, MLS was not going to make it. NFL stadiums were too cavernous.
And I think a lot of the other owners, looked around and said, hey, this is the path forward.
Commissioner Garber, you told us yesterday the league has reestablished their goals, and the main goal is get some more soccer-specific stadiums. We've got a commitment in Los Angeles for a new facility. We're making progress in Chicago. We're making a lot of progress in New York.
The Home Depot Center. I went into the stadium and I sat there and I cried because I could not believe that this soccer stadium was in the United States.
This really is the future if you look around and see what we can do when we have the right environment.
It changes the way that you understand sport and soccer and community. To me, that is the soul of the game.
It felt as a real tangible dividing line between what we might become and what we actually had become. It added a whole new dimension to our league and to our future.
You know, MLS was beginning to resonate around the world. Our fans said, we love what you're doing, but you kind of got to get some big name guys. And we said, well, what do you mean by that? They said, well, go get David Beckham.
I went to dinner one night with our coach and he said, how would you feel about David Beckham coming to our team? I said, you're stupid. He's never coming to our team. That's dumb.
It was a move for which there was no precedent. A star who transcended the sport. It took vision from both the star and the league.
I spoke to Don, and he made me really believe that, there's exciting times ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, the newest member of the LA Galaxy, Mr. David Beckham.
I basically said, what the hell is this guy doing? He left Real Madrid to come here.
The number is up. And Beckham is coming on.
But in the end, it became a success story.
He leads it for Beckham, and he scores! David Beckham's first goal in MLS.
He raised the profile for every single person that covered the sport, played in the sport, managed the sport.
All of a sudden, Beckham took it to a new level. It also meant that the league was committed to paying big salaries to attract the biggest kind of names.
Donovan to the top. Beckham! David Beckham pulls the trigger, and the LA Galaxy get one back.
Bringing in Beckham required the league to craft a new rule to make space not just for him, but for other superstars to come.
The announcement of the designated player rule, essentially each team can sign one player regardless of the salary cap that has been placed on the team.
This mechanism allows teams the opportunity to sign people like David Beckham.
The designated player rule changed the face of the league forever.
Thierry Henry! Cycles one home! Throwing his body in, it's going to fall for Ibrahimovic! Oh, come on! Did you think he was going to live up to the billing? Of course he did!
They put Major League Soccer on the international map. Because of him, we have the designated player. Because of the designated player, you have more talent. Because of more talent, you can compete. Because of that, fans want to come in and watch.
Here he is again. Clear throw. Oh, he scored now! Bringing the house down at Yankee Stadium.
And so now every player that comes says, well, Robbie Keane did it, so I can do it. And Robbie Keane said, well, I got a call from David Beckham saying, this is amazing, come over, so I can do it. And that's gonna snowball and go on forever.
I was coming to the league as a soccer player, but I was coming also as an ambassador as well.
Beckham's arrival shifted the narrative. It was on the league to shift the landscape, which it did with expansion.
North America is a vast geographic footprint, and we have clubs in a lot of big markets.
I never thought we'd be at 30 with the largest soccer league in the world. We're at the size of the other North American major leagues and other sports.
I mean, you couldn't give away a franchise in 2002. Now San Diego just sold for $500 million.
Yes, it's about a sport, but I think it's about something so much bigger. It's about community.
Those connections become emotional. That's where the rabid sports fan comes from, because you're defending your city.
Major League Soccer is underway in St. Louis City SC.
The league's growth wasn't just rapid, it was thoughtful. As it expanded, it also mandated that all clubs create a youth academy.
When I moved to LA, I was shocked that there wasn't many academy systems. So that's one of the things that we spoke to Don about. So now, obviously, every MLS team has the academy system, and it's one of the things that in Miami, I think is one of the most important parts for us, because I really feel that there's a huge potential there. And we want to start educating children at a young age to the sport, because that's the only way that you're going to have longevity in a country that really has started to embrace the sport.
The league is at a point where academy development is going to be more important for the long-term success than, say, getting a DP signing right, because of the replicability and the sustainability of producing your own talent.
And Kevin Sullivan, the youngest debutant, the history maker.
With the league expanding and the youth movement growing, MLS turned its attention beyond the continent, seeking to reach a global market with a game-changing worldwide deal with Apple.
We wanted to have a global offering. We wanted to have an opportunity for our fans to watch our games, whether in Buenos Aires or Brooklyn. We are the only league in the world that has a global streaming offering, 600 games, all treated like it's Monday Night Football.
Here comes Rui Diaz through the middle to crown it for Seattle. Back to goal. Oh, he's got him. Going for it. Spectacular!
Apple has allowed MLS to be the greatest commercial because it's available to almost everybody in the world.
They're saying, hey, I want to go play in America. I want to come to the United States.
To me, that's one of the most innovative deals out there. Over the next 3 to 4 years, you're going to see almost all consumers will be watching games streamed.
And now you add Leo Messi.
Creating the chaos, played ahead, quick shot, fired, goal! Lionel Messi for the 2-1 lead.
Just millions of people who have come into MLS games to see and experience the greatest player of all time.
Messi! Vintage!
With the World Cup set to return, the landscape couldn't be more different than it was in 1994. Rather than needing a jolt to keep it alive, North American soccer stands ready to show off how far it's come.
It is fantastic to be a soccer player in the United States.
Diego Luna tucks it away for an emphatic exclamation point.
This comes from a guy that came into the league when it was first starting out, where we were practicing in the parking lot, where the cars parked, and we'd have to move, to pick up glass off the field.
We were hoping to establish a league that would be the 5th major sports league in the United States of America and ultimately Canada. That was our goal. That's what we've achieved.
It's the LA Galaxy and it's LAFC in front of a record crowd, over 80,000 underway.
30 years is really just the beginning for us, but we have so much more to do.
We're competing against the world.
The best years are still ahead of us.